Babe, do you want to do the at least trend?
You sure about this? You're not gonna get mad?
No, not at all.
Aight. You go first.
At least I have friends.
At least I have a job.
At least I didn't f my dog.
At least I have a car.
At least I didn't sniff a bus seat.
At least I didn't fart into my grandpa's breathing machine.
At least I wash my hands after pooping.
At least I don't f every man I talk to.
At least I'm not shorter than 6 foot as a man.
At least I'm not 6 foot horizontally as a woman.
At least I don't have to hide when my father comes home.
At least a rowboat can support me.
At least I don't have a toxic girlfriend.
At least I don't cause earthquakes when I walk.
At least I didn't get caught scratching my bum, sniffing my fingers, then licking them.
At least my family doesn't have a pee drawer.
At least my father didn't leave me.
At least I don't have the body shape of Lizzo.
At least I'm not stinky.
At least I'm not a ginger.
At least I don't have crippling mommy issues and pass away at the thought of being called mommy's good boy.
At least I don't have a weird-ass looking chocolate starfish.
At least my family packed me school lunches.
At least I didn't get kicked out of the house for 6 months when I was 12.
At least my family loves me.
Really? At least my mom didn't commit deletion. At least my father didn't go back to rehab 4 times, and each time he'd promise me that he would get better. At least my older siblings didn't have to take care of me my whole life. At least I didn't have a broken childhood. Hello? It's your